My grandmother broke down in tears on the spot. The cherry blossom viewing, which was supposed to be filled with laughter under the fully bloomed sakura, turned into hell in an instant. The cause was just one bento. And it was my daughter's certain action. Why did she do something like that? After this, you will understand the reason. If you're interested, please subscribe to the channel. Honestly, the atmosphere that day was terrible. Oh, it's that kid again. I could hear those small voices leaking out from everywhere. My daughter, Misaki, was well known in the neighborhood. She has a restless nature. And can't read the room. She speaks her mind. Without any ill intentions. But it just causes problems. It was the same today. A precious cherry blossom viewing. The special bento that my grandmother prepared over several days. Even in front of that, Misaki couldn't wait. Not yet, she was told. But her hand reached out. The gazes around me suddenly turned cold. Really, the upbringing, someone muttered. The mother could only remain silent. Even if you stop, it won't stop. Even if you're angry, it won't get through. And then everyone was thinking this. Today too, something will happen. The cherry blossoms are in full bloom. A beautiful sight. Yet, at that moment, the atmosphere felt heavy. And in the next moment, that happened. At the center of it all was my grandmother, Haruko. She was the one who woke up earlier than anyone else and made bento with the utmost care. The moment the lid of the jubako was opened, there was a small cheer from those around. It was that impressive. You can tell that each item, from the glossy omelet to the fragrant fried chicken, and the colorful vegetables, has been carefully prepared. Haruko was simply smiling quietly. There was a slight sense of discomfort in that smile. As if to say, it's delicious when we all eat together. Somewhere, I'm on high alert. I've been keeping my eyes on Misaki's movements. It's as if I'm wary of something. Misaki was fidgeting next to her. Her gaze was fixed on the bento. She bit her lip, looking restless. Every time my mother says, "Not yet," I nod slightly. However, her eyes seemed less like they were holding back, and more like they were trying to confirm something. The adults around us are not aware. I just think, not again. But Haruko was different. For just a moment, seeing Misaki's fingers reaching for the bento, her expression froze. No one knew its meaning yet. And then, Haruko said quietly, "It's okay, Misaki, go ahead and eat." With that one phrase, the atmosphere changed. I was supposed to have stopped, so why did I forgive? My mother looks up in surprise. The surroundings are also buzzing. But Misaki didn't hesitate. At that moment, something was about to begin. Misaki did not waver. I reached for the jubako and grabbed the most prominent onigiri. Without hesitation, I opened my mouth wide and took a big bite. The atmosphere around me froze in an instant. Hey, my mother's voice comes flying in late. But I can't stop. Next, more fried chicken, omelette, one after another into my mouth. That speed was unusual. It was more like a movement as if being chased than a desire to eat. No one could do anything but watch in silence. I knew it. Someone mutters softly. The gaze is cold. It was a mix of disbelief and disgust. I can't believe it, and, are you planning to eat it all? Such voices begin to leak out uncontrollably. The mother stands up and tries to stop Misaki's hand. But Misaki shakes it off. Her eyes are different. It's not the usual innocence. There was something like impatience, or a strong will. Haruko did not move. I just kept watching. Without anger or stopping, someone notices. That expression. Why aren't you saying anything? A blaming gaze is directed towards them. But Haruko doesn't answer. She is only looking at Misaki's hands. Before long, the jubako was almost empty. The moment she put the last one in her mouth, Misaki's movements stopped. Slowly, she lifted her face. That gaze was directed straight at Haruko. The surrounding noise suddenly grew louder all at once. That's going too far, and you should apologize. Voices of blame overlapped. At that moment Haruko's hand trembled slightly. Misaki, why? Her mother's voice was trembling. But Misaki does not answer. With her head down, she tightly clenches her hands. The gazes of those around me pierce through me. Apologize. It's the worst to eat everything. The words keep getting stronger. Everyone had labeled me as a bad kid. Among them, Haruko was the only one who didn't move. She slowly stood up and sat down in front of Misaki. And then, she quietly asked, "How was the taste?" At that one question, everyone was taken aback. Without anger or scolding, they simply asked about the taste. Misaki's shoulder twitched slightly. Don't lift your face, but you're trembling slightly. It was salty, a hoarse voice. That no one understands the meaning of. What is that? Are you kidding me? The atmosphere grows even more tense. Haruko asked once more. Are you sure, all of it? Misaki nodded affirmatively. At that moment, tears welled up in Haruko's eyes. The surroundings became even more chaotic. Why are you crying? Aren't you angry? No one can understand the situation. The mother couldn't bear it any longer and screamed. What do you mean? Explain. At that voice, Misaki looked up. Her eyes were bright red. But, words fail me. But, Grandma, no one could imagine. What came next? But, Grandma, this is the leftover from yesterday. Right? With that one phrase, time stood still. No one can say anything. Misaki continues while shedding tears. I saw it in the kitchen this morning. Last night, the one that no one ate. You were repacking it, weren't you? The voice trembled. Grandma, I think you're pushing yourself too hard. You shouldn't serve it to everyone. My mother suddenly realized. The expressions of those around changed. Haruko said nothing. She just quietly shed tears. So, I thought if I ate everything, no one would notice. Misaki said, finishing her sentence. The atmosphere of the moment collapses in an instant. The disgust that was there just a moment ago fades away with a sound. Everyone was recalling their own words. Things I blamed and assumed. Haruko gently stroked Misaki's head with trembling hands. You noticed, didn't you? That voice was gentle. And for a moment, she looked a little regretful. The truth is, I wanted everyone to be happy. But my body just can't keep up, Misaki said, her face crumpling as she cried. I'm sorry, but I wanted everyone to laugh. At that moment, someone let out a small gasp. And then, they quietly wiped their tears. If you feel that stories about the moments when people's feelings intersect, yet connect, resonate with you, I would be happy if you could subscribe to the channel as I will continue to share them. The atmosphere just a moment ago had changed as if it were a lie. No one raises their voice. No one blames anyone. All I can hear is the quiet sound of the cherry blossoms swaying. The mother sat down on the spot and covered her face. I didn't see anything, she murmured softly. No one can respond to those words. Everyone felt the same way. The child I thought was a problem child, just a moment ago was more observant than anyone else. I was trying to protect the most. Someone said quietly. I didn't notice it. Several people nodded at those words. Haruko stood up while wiping her tears. I'll make it one more time, she said, smiling just a little. That smile was more natural than before. This time, it's properly new. A small laugh escapes from the surroundings. The heavy atmosphere gradually begins to loosen. Misaki stood next to them without saying anything. And then, we held hands gently. The cherry blossoms in full bloom were still there. But it didn't look like the same scenery. People seem to be watching, but they are not really seeing. They seem to understand, but they do not truly understand. If no one had stopped as it was. If that one word hadn't been said. I wonder what kind of memory this day would have become thinking about. That makes me a little scared. The wind blew, and the petals danced. No one says anything. However, Each of them had changed just a little. No one spoke any grand words. It was just that a different atmosphere was flowing than a moment ago. There were no more accusing gazes or definitive voices. They were simply quietly facing something within themselves. The mother looked at Misaki. But I quickly looked away. I didn't know what to say. Should I have scolded them? Should I have protected it? Should I have realized it sooner? All of that weighed heavily in my heart. On the other hand, the people who were just gossiping are now saying nothing at all. They are just silently looking up at the cherry blossoms, a little awkwardly. While the fully bloomed petals remain beautiful, only the meaning of that scenery has changed. Haruko took a slow, deep breath. And then she said softly, "Thank you." It was unclear whether those words were directed at Misaki or at the day itself, no one could tell. Misaki smiled just a little. With the same face she had while crying just a moment ago, but somehow with a look of relief. And then, she tightly grasped Haruko's hand again. Seeing that scene, someone murmurs softly, "What a kind child." No one denied those words this time. A petal falls once again. It was as if something was unraveling. People tend to judge based only on appearance and behavior. But they don't try to see the reasons behind that. If only I could stop for just a moment. If I could hear just one word. The scenery would surely change. The one event that happened under the fully bloomed cherry blossoms. But perhaps it was a day that changed someone's perspective, just a little. And that change will surely continue quietly.